Act 1. Cold Open. The snow is so cold it squeaks under your boots. Minus 35 degrees Celsius. The air tastes like iron. You are lying in a drift on the Kola front, your white smock blending into the white world around you. Your breath is controlled, in through the nose, out through the mouth, and you keep snow on your tongue so the vapor doesn't rise and betray you. Your rifle is a Finnish M2830, bolt action, iron sights, no scope, never a scope. The Soviets are 300 meters away, and they do not know you are here. They will not know until it is too late. Act 2. Context. It is November 1939. The Soviet Union has just invaded Finland, and the world expects Finland to fall in weeks. The Red Army outnumbers the Finnish forces 10-1. The Finns have no tanks to speak of, no air force worth mentioning, and they are fighting in their own frozen backyard in the depths of a Scandinavian winter. One of those Finns is a 34-year-old farmer named Simo Haya. He is 5'3". He was born in Rautjärvi in eastern Karelia, and he has spent his life shooting. Not in war, in sport. He was an award-winning marksman before the invasion, the kind of man who understood a rifle the way a musician understands an instrument. His hands knew the weight of it, the breath required to steady it, the patience demanded by precision. When the mobilization order came, he reported to the 6th Company of Infantry Regiment 34, and he was assigned to the Kola sector, a frozen strip of forest and lake where the Finns were trying to hold back the Soviet tide. There, in temperatures that plunged to 40 degrees below zero, where breath turned to ice and metal became brittle as glass, Haya would take his position. He carried a Finnish M2830 rifle, fitted only with iron sights, no scope, because in that killing cold, glass fogged, and exposed a man's location to death. He understood this. He understood everything about survival in the margins of winter. Act 3. Rising Action. Haya understood something that most soldiers did not. A scope is a liability in winter. The glass fogs in extreme cold, turning transparent into opaque in seconds. The lenses reflect sunlight and give away your position to anyone scanning the white expanse. A scope forces you to raise your head higher to aim, and a higher head is a bigger target. So he refused one. He kept his iron sights and his discipline. He packed snow in front of his firing position to muffle the muzzle blast, dampening the sound that travels far across frozen lakes and open ground. He wore white camouflage and dug into snowdrifts until he was invisible, becoming part of the landscape itself. He kept snow in his mouth so his breath would not fog and reveal him to distant eyes. He understood that patience was a weapon, perhaps the only one that mattered.
The Soviets sent counter-snipers to find him. They never found him alive. One by one, Haya eliminated them. Each one a soldier trained to hunt as he hunted. Each one a failure. The Soviet command called him Belia Smirt, the White Death. They shelled his suspected positions with artillery that tore through the forest and left craters in the snow. They sent patrols to flush him out, squads moving through the cold with rifles ready. Nothing worked. In one day, he recorded 25 confirmed kills. In another stretch, he averaged 5 kills per day, a rhythm of fire and silence, fire and silence. By the end of 100 days of combat, his confirmed count stood at approximately 505, plus another 200 estimated kills with a submachine gun when the Soviets got close enough for that kind of work, when distance became a luxury he could no longer afford. The Finns began to notice. Word spread through the trenches and dugouts, passed from unit to unit. The Soviet advance slowed. Not because of Haya alone. The entire Finnish army was fighting with a ferocity born of desperation, men defending their homes against an empire, but because one man with a rifle and an iron will had become a symbol. The Soviets feared him. The Finns believed in him. He was proof that numbers were not everything, that skill and resolve could bend the mathematics of war. Act 4. Turning point. And then, on March 6, 1940, everything changed. Haya was in close contact with a Soviet patrol near the frozen Kola front, where the line between survival and annihilation had narrowed to meters.
The distance was short. The engagement was brutal. A Soviet round, an explosive bullet, designed to fragment on impact, struck him in the face. The impact shattered his lower left jaw, tearing through bone and tissue with the finality of a sentence cut short. He fell into the snow, his rifle beside him, his body suddenly foreign to him. His comrades found him there. They lifted him onto a stretcher, their hands steady despite what they were carrying, and moved through the frozen forest toward the field hospital. The doctors who received him did not speak hope. His jaw was nearly gone. His face was unrecognizable. The infection risk alone was enough to seal a verdict. He fell into a coma, unconscious, suspended between the world and whatever lay beyond it. For days he existed in that darkness, no pain, no awareness, no knowledge of what had become of him or the war that had consumed everything. Then, on March 13th, 1940, his eyes opened. He regained consciousness in a hospital bed, his face wrapped in bandages, his body still broken but breathing. The same day, that very same day, the peace treaty between Finland and the Soviet Union was signed in Moscow. The winter war was over. The guns fell silent. The frozen forests exhaled. Heya had survived. But the man who woke was not the man who had fallen. He would undergo 26 reconstructive surgeries in the years to come, his face rebuilt piece by piece, scar by scar. The sniper who had lived by stillness and silence would now live in it, by necessity and by choice. Act 5. Consequences.
Simo Heya survived. He underwent 26 reconstructive surgeries in the months that followed, each one an attempt to restore what the explosive bullet had taken. His face was permanently disfigured, the left side bearing the marks of that final moment on the frozen cola line. But he lived. He regained consciousness on March 13, 1940, the very day the peace treaty was signed, as if the war itself had waited for him to wake. Marshal Mannerheim, the commander of the Finnish forces, promoted him from corporal to second lieutenant. It was the largest single-rank promotion in Finnish military history, a recognition not just of what he had accomplished, but of what he had endured. 100 days, 505 confirmed kills. A man who had held a sector of the front with nothing but iron sights and the discipline of a farmer's patience. But Heya did not become a war hero in the public sense. He did not write memoirs or give speeches. He returned to his farm in Rautjärvi, in the same region where he had fought, and he lived quietly. He became a moose hunter. He bred dogs. He refused most interviews. The world moved on to larger wars, larger names, larger narratives. The Winter War itself faded from the popular imagination, overshadowed by what came after. When journalists and historians finally tracked him down decades later and asked him the secret of his marksmanship, his answer was simple. Practice. No mystique, no philosophy. Just the quiet truth of a man who had mastered one skill so completely that it had changed the course of a war. He lived to be 96 years old. He died on April 1, 2002. In Finland, and among those who study the margins of military history, Simo Heya remained what he had always been, the White Death, a man who proved that skill and discipline could matter more than numbers, more than technology, more than the odds. Act 6. Reflection. Heya's story is not a celebration of killing. It is a story about precision, about patience, about the human capacity to endure. He was a farmer who became a sniper because his country needed him. He paid for that service with his face, with his peace, with the quiet life he might have lived, and then he went home and lived it anyway, in silence. That is the real footnote of war, not the glory, but the survival, not the legend, but the man who refused to become one. If forgotten battles and the quiet heroes who fought them are your kind of history, the next story is already waiting.